The first time she said it, it wasn't flirtatious, it wasn't dramatic, it was almost a broken bar factual. I haven't had a man in my house for 2 years. We were standing on opposite sides of the street, early evening light spilling over the quiet neighborhood like a held breath, birds settling, lawn sprinklers ticking. One of those calm moments that feels harmless until it isn't. I laughed without thinking and replied, "Well, you've got me now." The words came out easy, too easy, and the second they left my mouth, something shifted. Because I didn't mean them as a joke, and she didn't hear them that way either. Let me rewind her, because this story doesn't start with that line. It starts with silence, the comfortable kind. The kind you build a life around when you've decided complications are overrated. I lived in a place where time moved slowly on purpose. Not rural, not remote, just quiet enough to breathe. My house sat back from the road with a wide porch that caught the evening sun. I worked outdoors for a living, shaping land, planning spaces meant to be lived in, walked through, remembered. It wasn't flashy, it didn't impress strangers at parties, but it was steady, honest. My life followed simple rhythms: morning coffee on the porch, work that tired my body instead of my soul, evenings where nothing demanded anything from me, no drama, no deadlines screaming after hours, no one waiting at home expecting me to be more than I was. And across the street a broken bar was her. She moved in quietly, no moving truck spectacle, no welcoming party, just a few boxes, a borrowed pickup, and a woman who worked efficiently without looking rushed. I noticed the yard first, untamed, not neglected, just unapologetically wild. Native plants growing wherever they pleased, flowers that didn't care about symmetry. It felt intentional. We exchanged polite waves at first, neighborly nods, weather comments, nothing more. But slowly, those moments stretched, conversations lingered, silences grew less awkward. She had a way of standing still when she listened, not filling space, not rushing to respond, and when she spoke, she chose words carefully, like each one had weight. I learned she lived alone, had for a while. I didn't ask why. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted everything gold, she crossed the street holding a mug, stopped at the edge of my driveway like she wasn't sure whether to commit. "Do you mind company?" she asked. I didn't. Not at all. We sat on the porch, not facing each other, just side by side, looking out. She talked about her work, about the house, about how quiet nights could feel louder than busy ones. That's when she said it. "I haven't had a man in my house for 2 years." She wasn't looking at me when she said it. Her eyes stayed on the trees. I replied without thinking, without guarding myself, "Well, you've got me now." The air changed. She turned then, really looked at me, not curious, not amused, evaluating. "I didn't mean it like that," she said softly. "I know," I replied, and I did, but I also knew something else. That sentence wasn't about men, or houses, or time. It was about absence, about what doesn't come back when it leaves. We sat in silence after that, not uncomfortable, just a broken bar charged. She left shortly after, thanking me for the porch and the quiet. I watched her walk back across the street, the distance between our houses suddenly feeling smaller than it had before. That night, I didn't sleep well, not because I wanted her, but because I realized how long it had been since anything unsettled me. The next few days were different. Subtly, we ran into each other more often. Our conversations stretched longer. Her laughter came easier, mine too. And then one evening, she invited me over, just for a drink, she said. Casual, careful. Her house was warm in a way mine wasn't. Lived in, soft edges, books stacked where they'd been read, not displayed, windows left uncovered. "This is where no man's been," she said lightly, gesturing around. I raised an eyebrow. "You say that like it's a rule." She shrugged. "It became one. I didn't ask who broke it last. I didn't ask why. Instead, I stepped inside." That was the moment I crossed a line I didn't know existed. Because standing in her living room, I realized something uncomfortable. I wasn't just keeping her company, I was becoming one. And the question wasn't whether I could walk away, it was whether either of us actually wanted me to. She poured the drinks, handed one to me. Our fingers brushed. "Tell me something honest," she said. I hesitated. "About what?" "About why you're alone." she replied. The room felt smaller suddenly. I could have joked, deflected, kept things light. Instead, I told her the truth, and when she nodded a slow, understanding, I realized this wasn't just a neighborly moment anymore. This was the beginning of something neither of us had planned for. And once you step into someone's quiet, a broken bar, you don't leave unchanged. The truth is, once you step inside someone's quiet, it doesn't echo the way you expect. It settles. Her house didn't feel lonely. It felt paused, like a song waiting for the next note. The walls held warmth, not absence. And as I stood there with the glass in my hand, I realized something that made my chest tighten. This wasn't a house that missed men. It was a house that remembered one. She sat across from me on the couch, legs tucked beneath her, fingers wrapped around her mug like it was anchoring her. The lights were low and not romantic, just practical. Evening light leaked through the windows in thin bands, catching dust in the air. Everything felt too real for small talk. "You never answered," she said. "Answered what?" "Why you're alone." There it was again. That calm, direct way she had of opening doors you didn't realize were locked. I stared into my glass longer than necessary. People always assume solitude comes from failure, from being unwanted, from not trying hard enough. But that wasn't it. I chose it, I said finally. At first, she waited, didn't rush me, didn't interrupt. I was with someone once who wanted everything fast. I continued. Cities, promotions, big plans. I wasn't against growth. I just a broken bar didn't want to sprint my whole life. When she left, I realized I liked the quiet more than I missed the noise. She nodded slowly. "So you stayed?" "Yeah," I said. "I stayed." She looked down at her hands. "I didn't choose mine." That sentence landed heavier than anything she'd said before. I didn't ask questions right away. I'd learned some stories only open when they're ready. Instead, I let the silence do its work. And eventually, she spoke again. "He lived here," she said, her voice steady but thin. For a long time, longer than I should have let him, I felt something shift in the room, like air pressure changing before a storm. "When he left," she continued, "I didn't replace him. Not because I couldn't, but because I didn't trust myself not to invite the wrong kind of comfort back in." That made sense in a way logic never could. "So the rule," I said gently, "no men in the house." She gave a small smile. "At first, it was protection. Then it became habit. And now?" She looked up at me, held my gaze. "Now I'm not sure." That was the moment I understood the risk. This wasn't flirtation. It wasn't casual curiosity. It was two people standing at the edge of something deep, deciding whether to step forward or step back. I stayed another hour, maybe two. We talked about everything except the thing hanging between us. Childhood memories, favorite seasons, the comfort of routines, the danger of mistaking peace for stagnation. When I stood to leave, she walked me to the door. "Thank you for coming in," she said. "Thank you for letting me," I replied. Her hand lingered on the doorframe. Mine hovered uselessly at my side. For a second, the space between us felt loud. Then she stepped back. That restraint, that choice was louder than any kiss would have been. The next morning, the neighborhood felt different. Not brighter, just sharper. Every small interaction carried memory now. Every glance across the street meant something. We didn't talk for 2 days, not because of awkwardness but because both of us were thinking. When she finally crossed the street again, it wasn't with the mug this time, it was with resolve. "I don't want to do this halfway," she said, standing on my porch. "If you're going to be in my house again, it has to mean something." I leaned against the railing. "And if it does, then it won't be safe," she said honestly. I smiled, not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. "Nothing that matters ever is." She studied my face, searching for hesitation. She didn't find it. That night, I went back to her house, not as a guest, not as a neighbor killing time, as someone choosing to be there. We cooked dinner together, bumping elbows, laughing at small mistakes. It felt domestic in a way that startled me, comfortable without being dull, intimate without being rushed. Later, sitting side by side, she rested her head against my shoulder. "Just once, just enough." I said 2 years, she murmured. But I think I was counting the wrong thing. I didn't ask what she meant. I already knew. Because sometimes, loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being afraid to let someone stay. And as I sat there, in a house that had once been closed off to half the world, I realized something else. This wasn't about me breaking her rule. It was about her deciding to rewrite it. But rules, once broken, tend to reveal deeper truths. And the truth we were circling, it wasn't whether I belonged in her house. It was whether I was ready to belong in her life. Because once you stop being a visitor or a broken bar, you can't pretend you don't care what happens next.